So I haven't actually worked on a application professionally that ever needed drag and drop functionality. I do know there's some, UIs like a Trello board or some type of functionalities where you might need drag and drop, but I just haven't had the opportunity to be put on a professional project that needed this feature. But with that being said, I've been kind of diving into how would one potentially make a React application that allows you to drag and drop widgets. So I'm going to show you how I did this, and it's really basic, but I just followed a tutorial and I'm going to show you what I did. So you can basically take one of these widgets and you can drop them in this container here. And based on the order of which you grabbed and dropped those widgets, they will, be displayed in that same order. So how exactly do you do this in React? And I think it'd be cool to kind of share with you all how I figured it out. So let's go over to my React code. Now, this is all coded. I'm just going to walk you through it. I know a lot of people like seeing stuff built on the fly, but honestly, learning how to read code is probably just as beneficial to your coding career, because you're going to have to load up files that you've never touched before and read through that code and understand what's going on. So I'm going to kind of walk you through like what I did, and hopefully you guys understand it. So for the widgets that display on the right, I basically have an array of strings, and that is keeping track of the ordering of the widgets that you drop in. So every time you basically drop a widget in, it's actually updating some states. Let's load up the React DevTools. I'm going to go to this components dropdown, and we're going to go ahead and just hover over this component here. And you'll notice that this has some state here, which has an empty array. And I want to go ahead and just drop some widgets in here. So like A, C, and B. And you can see as I drop things into this drop area, the widgets are put into an array. So that's kind of what's happening behind the scenes. If you're familiar with React State, pretty straightforward, right? And that's why I'm keeping track of this here. But how does it actually know to drop and update this array? So let's actually look at some of these event handlers that we set up and look at the DOM. So the first thing I want to kind of show you is on the left, we have the actual widgets A, B, and C. And on each of these widgets, we have an on drag start and a draggable property, which basically allows this thing to be dragged by your cursor. Okay. I think the draggable keyword and like on drag start are all built into the DOM as actual like DOM events. And these are just React like camel case properties that match to those. So basically you add the draggable boolean and then you listen for when a drag starts. And all I'm doing is I'm calling a method and I'm passing in the name of the widget or the type of the widget that we're dragging around. So let's look at this method here. All this is doing is it's taking the event. So this is like a drag event. And there's actually something called a data transfer where you can add properties and metadata to the event, such as adding a widget type, so we can keep track of like, okay, the thing that we're dragging around the page, what data is attached to it. And we're going to use that for when we drop the widget into the drop area. So let's actually look at the drop area real quick. There is a div over here called page, and I'm adding an on drop and an on drag over handler. Now, I think you have to add this on drag over, and you need to make it prevent default for this to be like a droppable zone. I haven't really looked too much into it. I think if I remove this though, like this app will not work anymore. Yeah, so like this is some weird thing you have to do. But yeah, I didn't really look too much into why you need that, why you have to prevent default. I guess this thing will just consume the event and stop it there the moment that your thing you're dragging gets into the DOM. So let's just go ahead and say like drag over. I want to kind of experiment a little bit. I know I'm jumping all over the place, but if we were to try this, I bet you the moment I drag this thing into this, the drag over event fires a ton of times. Okay, so just wanted to point that out. If you ever need to know when something is entering another div, like we could style this and make this thing turn like a yellow border if you wanted to, the moment you drag into it. And I'm assuming that there's a on drag out as well, so just keep that in mind. But anyway, what I was trying to show you before I got distracted was there's an on drop property, and you can make it call a method when you actually let go of your mouse, right? So when I let go of the mouse, I'm going to get that same event that we had that data transfer thing we attached to it, and we added a data type to it. We added a widget type, which is a string, and I console log it here. But to kind of reduce the code that we're looking at, we just basically append it to the array that's in state. And that's all that really happens, right? So you click on a widget, the on drag start fires, you add some data to that event type, and then when you drop it, you get that data transfer get data, and you just use that to do what you need to do. So you might see this pattern if you're ever trying to build like a Wix website builder or some type of cool builder where you can, drag components onto a right panel and have it basically build up your page. And I do plan to make something kind of similar to that in the future, which is why I'm looking to drag and drop. I also did this very similar approach with a game that I'm working on where you basically have to make an inventory, and I have like potions that you can click and drag the potions into different like, the character's belt at the bottom. And then also you can click and drag it into equipment slots. So I thought it'd be pretty cool to talk about it since I'm actually starting to see it used in my personal projects. And again, I haven't ever used this on a professional project, so I think it's really dependent on what you're building, if you might need it or not. Hopefully if you guys are new to React and new to the drag and drop functionality, this is something new that you all learned. And I would challenge you all to kind of like try to build something out with drag and drop functionality as well. I think it's pretty cool. And it just kind of opens up new doors to things that you might be able to work with in the future. Anyway, if you enjoyed watching this, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, comment, press the bell icon. And like always, there is a Discord channel that you're welcome to join if you want to talk to me directly, or just find a place to ask questions and hopefully get help from some other developers. And I also have a newsletter that you're welcome to subscribe to if I ever decide to publish just random tips and tricks about React or JavaScript or just web development in general. Have a good day and happy coding.